Welcome everyone to the 6th episode of Across the Decades. I'm joined today by my good friend Rachel Wood, also known as Lemon Drop.
Hi.
Could you please do me the favor and flip the hourglass?
Flip her over.
And as is fitting to the nickname Lemon Drop, we are drinking a little lemon LaCroix. Cheers. So, yes, we've known each other, I don't know exactly how long, because of course it got, we were more involved after, of course, dating Jackie and whatnot, but yeah, definitely high school, I would say. And that's also where I would say the group Squamily stems from. So if you would do us the honor of sharing a little bit of the Squamily history, what that's been like.
For sure. Well, I feel like we did know each other in middle school because like we were in the
1 year apart,
the math classes where like
oh yeah,
the year of math, which probably wasn't a good idea, but it still happened. But yeah, I remember you and Creets from our 8th grade math class.
Yeah, because you were in that, and I think Rachel Stadwick was?
Yeah.
Was anyone else?
Natalie was 2, I think.
So the two of them, maybe Nathan, probably?
I don't think Nathan was for some reason.
It's okay, he just got married. So he's you went to
the
Louisville.
Yeah, he made up for it. It's okay.
Yeah, so that was middle school. That might have been Mrs. Pike, I think. 8th grade.
Yeah.
And then segue into high school, which is I think where we actually, because of course we had the 1 year difference.
Yeah.
But then coming into high school, that's how we started to get to know each other more. And of course you're part of the Squamily group. So
yeah.
Who's in that, and what's the history of the group?
So the Squamily group, I feel like it didn't really start until like our junior year, my junior year, your senior year of high school. We just had like one of the big like group chats, and we were trying to decide like on a name to call it, and it was kind of an argument between like squad and family. So then I don't remember who it was that just like meshed them together. We're like, we're Squamily, which
whoever came up with it still remembers for sure.
I don't remember who it was, but
wasn't you,
it was
but
probably like Diddy or Ryan,
right,
or someone. But yeah, it was like just like our high school friend group. So like me, Jackie, Kaylin, Amy.
I'll cut you off, otherwise you're gonna forget someone, and then they're gonna be.
Yes, please. Yeah, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But yeah, just kind of our friend group, and we used to do Monday fun days, Sunday fun days.
Oh, nice.
I forget which day of the week it was.
What was so fun about it?
We would just do like a big group hang, like once a week.
Someone's house.
Yeah. We would like switch off whose house it was at, and just like. I feel like there was like 15 of us just hanging out.
Yeah, the good old times.
Yeah, good, pure fun,
Yeah, and then you guys have been friends, obviously, have kept up through high school. Why do you think, I mean, I would say not everyone has been able to keep a close-knit friend group for so long. Why do you think you guys were able to do so? Is there anything that's unique about it, or? I
don't know. I feel like there's just something about like being from Bolingbrook and going to like BHS that I feel like really like bonds people. All of our friends are just so nice too, and just like good human beings. And it's just been nice to keep up with everyone, especially like in college and stuff. Like we would always have big like Friendsgivings and like parties around the holidays, stuff like that. So I think like that's mainly how we've kept up since like college, and then like post college a lot of people have like moved out of state and stuff. So yeah, it's just been nice.
Yeah, and to your point, you guys have all kind of gone in different directions. You of course went to South Carolina.
Yeah.
Others went, also to different out-of-state schools. Some are actually now living out of state.
Yeah.
Actually a good chunk of them are.
I feel like most everyone moved out of state. It's kind of crazy.
And you did that for college. So what took you to South Carolina? Why the Gamecocks?
Yeah, good question. So when I was applying for colleges, I didn't want to stay in Illinois. I wanted to get out of Illinois. I was kind of over it.
Just a change of pace?
High school angsty stuff. I was like, I want to get out of here type of thing.
Make my own road.
Yeah. And I knew I wanted to go to like a big school. So most of the schools that I applied to are like all like Big Ten schools, like Minnesota, Michigan State, Wisconsin, places like that. And then when I was a junior in high school, my family and we went on like a road trip down through Tennessee and then to South Carolina, and like hung out at the beach and stuff. And my parents were like, yeah, like you have to pick a college to visit on the way down. Like there's like a million that we're passing, like you have to pick one. And I just like randomly, I think my dad suggested to like visit University of South Carolina.
Hmm.
Um, so I did, and I ended up liking it, and I applied there. Um, they ended up giving me the biggest financial aid package.
Yeah,
So
that's persuasive.
yes, very persuasive, especially with how expensive college is
Right.
nowadays. So, plus I thought it would be fun going to like a big school in the South, like
Hmm.
where it's warm. It's totally different from where I grew up. So it was kind of scary to do it. But I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
It was a good 4 years.
Yeah, and then you were able to, like you said, experience like a different culture, a different way of
Yes.
living, especially because, yeah, here it's not, I would imagine, as hot and humid as it can get
Yeah.
down there.
Yeah.
Insects, like those are their own battle.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like they call Columbia, where USC is, the armpit of South Carolina because it's like caught between like the mountains and the ocean. So it's just like literally like an armpit.
great
Like it's
marketing.
just so humid and terrible there in the summers, which luckily I would never stay there for summer. I'd always come back to like
Oh, yeah.
Chicago area. Um, but yeah, it was brutal. Like the first few weeks of school, especially going to like football games,
Hmm.
like people would tailgate for like 2 hours in like the blazing sun and then go into the games and like pass out. And like it was really bad. It was
Yeah,
like 90 degrees, and you're just like, I don't want to be here.
yeah.
Like, this is not how football should be. I should be wearing a sweatshirt. But yeah, it was kind of a culture shock going down there. Um, I yeah, I mean, I guess like the first time that I really realized like how different it was like from the Midwest was like going to like my first football game there.
Hmm.
Like I showed up with like a jersey and like jean shorts and like Converse, and like all of the girls there were wearing like black dresses and like cowboy boots.
Whoa,
And I
really?
was like told like this is the uniform, like this is what you were supposed to wear, and I was like,
You
ah.
were caught off guard for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So it was definitely different. But it was just kind of fun.
Hmm. Did you end up like adapting to that, or like did you end
I
up wearing?
did for
Okay.
sure. Well, like honestly, wearing a dress to the games was way more comfortable than wearing like pants or
Mm.
shorts, just because it was so hot there.
It was strategic too.
Yes, yes. Plus, I thought the cowboy boots were kind of cute.
Yeah, there you
It
go.
was kind of like my country music phase,
There you go.
which was good timing for that since
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was in South Carolina. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then also related to the Gamecocks, recently you guys were able to beat Iowa. Caitlin Clark. That was a big upset, I
Yes,
would say, for the at least for the friend
yes.
group. Of
Yeah,
course, we're
yeah,
with a lot more Hawkeyes here.
yeah.
What was it like being the sole Gamecock aficionado, let's say?
It felt good. I'm not gonna lie. It felt good. It was really cool. I mean,
Mhm,
the women's basketball team has been really good. Dawn Staley's been their coach for like a really long time,
mhm.
and she's like the Olympic women's basketball coach too. I just think she just builds like a really good program, um, and like really cares about the players and stuff too. So it was nice to see them
Mhm.
win, especially with like how big like Caitlin Clark was this year. It
Oh
was
yeah.
like it kind of just felt good to beat
Just a little
Iowa.
reminder.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I don't know. They put a lot of work in, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
mean they're a strong
yeah,
team.
yeah.
Um, did you follow them at all during college, or was it more recent?
Um, More recently, I would say I followed them a little bit in college because they did win a national championship when I was there.
Hmm.
I don't remember what year it was, but yeah. It's kind of funny though because the women's team, like they won a national championship when I was there, but like everyone at the school was more excited when like the men's team like made it to the final four and they didn't even win. So I mean that's just kind of how like women's
Yeah.
sports is seen, I guess. Especially I feel like in the South it's maybe not as big like the women's
Hmm.
sports. I don't know actually if they have like professional basketball teams really
Yeah,
in the
I'm
South for women.
right.
I
I'm
know
not
they
sure
have
about
like
that
the
either.
Chicago team and like the New York team. I don't follow
Yeah, yeah.
professional basketball that much, but yeah.
But I would say for the largest women's college basketball game, right? Like that brought a lot of
Yeah.
eyes, and I would say, many people, myself included, would say that I watched that game and I didn't watch like the March Madness bracket
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
because there was so much hype and so many eyes on it
Yeah.
that yeah, I mean, I of course Jackie being a Hawkeye,
Yeah.
we went to go watch it, and that was a good time. But of course,
Yeah.
you guys did prevail, come out on top,
Yes.
and remind
Yes.
everyone why you guys are a great program.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, you were there for was it 4 years?
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I guess when you were making your decision, was it pretty clear that you were going to come back to Chicago, or did you consider anywhere else?
Um, I knew that I wanted to go to PT school right out of undergrad. So I applied to a bunch of different programs. I applied to like one in Minnesota. I applied to University of South Carolina again because I do have a program there. I
Hmm.
applied to UIC in Chicago, and then I applied to one in like Arizona. Um, so I was already kind of leaning towards coming back towards like the Chicago area just because, I mean, 4 years away from home, I just kind of missed
It was time.
everyone. Yeah, and like plus like a bunch of like friends from high school and stuff, I feel like we're moving back to like the city, and I was like, "Ah,
Hmm.
it's kind of the place to be."
Right.
Um, so yeah, I guess I didn't know 100%. It was kind of wherever I got into school. I did end up getting into University of South Carolina and then the one in Minnesota and then the Chicago one. So I was like mainly between going to like either Mayo Clinic in Minnesota or UIC in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I kind of realized when I was in South Carolina, I kind of missed the seasons changing. Um, it was nice being somewhere where it's like warm all year round,
Hmm.
but I feel like not great for my skin because I like laid out like in the middle of February and like I'm very Irish and I just got burnt and it was like not good.
It showed itself. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I've been to the dermatologist multiple times since, so probably not the best idea,
They're
but
like, diagnosis is you're Irish.
yeah, yeah, no, literally. Um, but yeah, I just like missed like the seasons changing. It
Yeah.
just like I feel like it splits time up differently than like when
Hmm.
it's like 50 or 60 for like 9 months at a time, which like it's nice cuz you get to be outside a little bit more. Um but I don't know. I just like the cold fall, like the winter and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
It's easy to definitely take it for granted when you're living in Chicago
Yeah.
because, yeah, obviously we have to get used to the really hot summers and the cold winters.
Yes.
But yeah, you're not the first. Mitch, who lived in Savannah, said the same
Yeah.
thing where he said, it's just too hot all the time. And then
Yeah.
it does get, obviously it's more enjoyable in the winter months, but
Yeah.
it's not the same. Like you're still wearing the same clothes. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's there's less of a variation and
Yeah.
that sense of progression of time. I can
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very different.
And so timing wise, that was when you came back. What year was that?
2019.
Okay, so that was essentially in the lead up to COVID, right? Because I
Yeah.
know you lived for a time in the Tri-Taylor area.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, what was the timing like when you moved in versus COVID, and then yeah, how did you manage that?
Yeah. So I moved back to like Chicago area um like May of 2019, right after I graduated.
Hmm.
And then spent the summer like in Bolingbrook with my parents. And then I started PT school in like August of 2019 and moved into Tri Taylor
Hmm.
like the same time. Um, and then from like August until like March was living in the city, and then COVID happened. And because our whole program like went online for like the rest of the semester and then the next summer I just like went home with my parents
Hmm.
cuz like what else are you going to do?
Hmm.
Um but yeah, and then I ended up like moving back in with my parents cuz our program was like hybrid and it was just a good idea to save money.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Why pay Chicago prices when you
Yeah.
couldn't really enjoy the Chicago
Yeah,
living?
exactly,
Yeah,
cuz nothing was open anyways, like everybody was kind of hunkering down,
yeah.
so
Yeah, I mean, I did the same thing, moved back home.
yeah.
And then, yeah, I think somewhere in there, or I should say somewhere after that, you ended up spending a little bit of time in Florida, right? So
Yes,
you
I
ended up
did.
making another move.
I did, yeah, yeah. So that was for one of my clinicals. That was in the summer of 2021,
Okay.
which I don't really recommend living in Florida in the summer, but
What part?
Gainesville. So it's like in the
Hmm.
middle, like north middle of the
Okay,
state. Um, it's where University of Florida is.
gotcha.
Um, yeah, so I had to move there for clinical because there was no clinical sites available like in Illinois
Hmm.
for me to
Hmm.
go to. Because with COVID, like a lot of like the clinical sites were like shut down, like they weren't accepting students just for like infection purposes. But obviously Florida was pretty wide open with their COVID
They're
restrictions.
like, come on
So
in. Yeah.
yeah, and I was like, all right, well, if this means I don't have to graduate like a semester late, then that's fine with
Hmm.
me. So yeah, I lived in Gainesville for 3 months. I roomed with like one of my classmates.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You got to spend a little bit more time on the East Coast. Yeah.
Yeah, I
After
did.
you said, yeah,
Yeah.
you wanted to move back, enjoy the
Yeah.
seasons. But yeah, I
Yeah.
guess overall, if someone were considering moving to the East Coast, what would be some of the pros or cons versus, let's say, the Midwest in general?
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot more like just outdoor stuff to
Mhm.
do. Especially like southern like East Coast, like Florida, South Carolina, just because the weather is nicer all year round. Plus, like in Florida, like there's a bunch of like beaches you can go to,
So
obviously.
many. Yeah.
And like around like Central Florida, a big thing is like tubing down like
Oh, really?
rivers and stuff, which I have like kind of a traumatic story about.
Tell
But
us
okay,
if you want. Yeah.
yeah, no, I can. It's like it probably doesn't sound as traumatic as that actually felt, but um yeah, so we in our clinical, we like kind of made friends with like other people who were doing their clinical as well.
Mhm.
So we decided to go on like this big like river float thing. Which it's like you just get like a tube and like you kind of like leave your phone in the car
Mhm.
because like obviously you're going in a river.
This is already going bad.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
No,
also
no
no
way to
signal there
contact.
anyways, even if you did have
Oh,
your
yeah.
phone.
Okay.
So
That
um
makes me feel better.
yeah, yeah. But it's literally just like in the middle of like the woods and there's just like kind of like mud paths to like these rivers.
Mhm.
So the day that we went, I guess the water was like really high. It had like rained recently, so the water, like the current was going really, really fast. So obviously like I had never been there before. I don't think a lot of the people that we were with had been there that often. So we were like floating down the river and then all of a sudden we see like this like exit where people are like going back towards like into the trees where it kind of just turned into like more like a pond versus like the actual river.
Oh, okay.
Um we found out that that was the only exit that we could have
Oh,
taken.
no.
So we had passed it and we were trying to swim like backwards, but obviously that was never going to happen with the way the current was. So all of everyone that I was with, there was like 5 or 6 of us, all of their tubes ended up being tied together and mine wasn't. So I kind of got separated from the group. I
Oh,
like
no.
jump out of the tube. I'm like holding my flip-flops in one hand and I have like one arm like around the tube and I'm just like beelining it like sideways to like the shore because I'm like, I have to get out of here. Like, my mom will kill me if I drown in Florida and like end up like washed down the river. I don't even know
Yeah.
where this leads. Like, I don't know. So, yeah, so I ended up like beelining it across. I was the most tired I have ever been in my entire life just because the current was so strong. And like, even though I was swimming straight across, I was still being like pushed further and
Oh,
further
for sure.
away. And then I ended up climbing up through like a bunch of these trees, and there was just like slimy like rocks and like sticks and like vines and stuff. And I was like, a snake is gonna get me. But
Did you lose
I,
sight of them while you were
yes,
swimming?
yes, because I was like, every man for themselves. Like, I have, I
What was,
can't.
yeah.
I was like, I'm not connected to them. I was like, I have to just like go. Like, I don't know what their plan is, but I'm like, I have to get out of here.
What was like the distance from that you think you swam?
I don't really know. Oh, like the distance I like swam
Yeah.
across. I would say probably like 100 meters.
Wow.
It was like a really big river. And we were like dead in the middle of it and like we had to go like halfway across.
So at what point did you realize that you needed to make this decision? Like, was it when
It
you were
was
realized you were just
it was
disconnected?
like as soon as we started passing like the exit and we tried swimming towards it and I was like we're not going anywhere. I was like I'm out.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of jumped ship pretty quick.
It's time to
But
take action.
yeah, yeah. So I ended up like climbing out of the water. It's like it was like a whole like big like party area too. So like people were like camping there and just like totally like drunk. And this girl was like in like this little like area by the trees just like squatting and peeing when I'm like crawling out of like there like covered in mud like just about died and she's just like oh I'm sorry I was like I don't care it's
The
fine
life experiences, like
yeah
someone's doing one thing, another
yeah
person's like on the brink of not no longer being here.
yeah yeah so yeah so then I get out into like a little clearing where people are like walking back and forth with like their tubes and stuff and I'm like I guess I just wait here for everyone because like I don't know where they went. They were pushed farther down the river than I was, so I
Oh.
figured like they would have to walk back that way to like give the tubes back anyways. So I waited there probably like maybe like 10, 15 minutes. I was like
Mm.
panicking, but it was like, I'm alive, it's fine.
It's like a survival story where they tell you like just stick close to the running water. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But eventually they came and found me, and it was like fine. But I don't think they were as traumatized as I was.
oh, I mean, I bet
But
you had, yeah, you had literally a survivor moment. Did
yeah,
you feel like the
yeah,
adrenaline rush and everything?
yeah, for sure. And like afterwards, I was like so exhausted. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, just from like I feel like the adrenaline rush, and
Right.
then like also just like swimming that hard, which I don't normally do. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And obviously,
yeah,
once that wears off,
yeah.
like that's when you start to feel everything
Yeah.
kicking
And then I
in.
was like, I want to go back to Chicago. I don't want to be in Florida anymore.
Yeah, it's time. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really.
Yeah.
That's probably the wake up call to be like, okay, well maybe this isn't my element. Like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna leave you guys to do the tubing, and I'll go
Yeah.
back and I'll just be at Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
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 So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you ended up completing, of course, becoming a doctor,
Yes.
Doctor Wood.
Yeah.
I guess now, knowing what you know now, what would
Mhm.
you advise 18-year-old Rachel that is looking to
Oh,
enter this phase?
okay. Um, I like being a physical therapist. I'll
Hmm.
start there. But
It's like a compliment sandwich.
yeah, yeah. But I don't know if I would have gone into the same field as I am now. I do like healthcare a lot. I think it's really interesting, but
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of problems with our healthcare system, which can be frustrating, like when you're in the middle of it every day. Um, Honestly, I think I probably would have told myself to go to like PA school, like physician assistant school, just because it's like a shorter program. Plus, like you start making a lot more money afterwards.
Mhm.
I think the value of physical therapy is like basically a lot lower than what, like monetarily, a lot lower than what it actually is. Like,
Like it's underpaid.
yes, it's
Okay.
underpaid, basically, especially for like getting a doctorate. It's like the salaries that we have now as therapists are like the exact same as they were like 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And like 10 years ago, you didn't have to have a doctorate, you could just have a master's to be a physical
Do
therapist.
you think it's just competition that's raised the bar, or?
No, it's because of government funding. So with like Medicare spending and stuff, they the government, and I don't really know how the budgets work and stuff. But all I know is
I
that
don't think anyone does. I don't
yeah,
think
they
they do
keep
either.
like cutting funding towards like Medicare
Gotcha.
reimbursement. And typically like the first thing to go out of that are like is like physical therapy reimbursement. So if like Medicare isn't going to reimburse that much for physical therapy, then like all the other insurance companies follow the same.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
At what
Yeah.
point did you find that out?
Not until I like started by clinicals.
Interesting.
Yeah. And like it was probably like my last year of PT school where you find out and like you start actually looking at job postings and it's like, wow, this is a lot less than like I thought coming
Mm.
into the program we would be making.
Hmm.
So,
So do you think that's just a disconnect between the market and the school that maybe even the schools don't realize that how competitive or like lower paying, or do you think it's maybe even slightly intentional in saying like,
I think the schools realize
okay,
um but which like I went to UIC, which is like probably one of the cheapest PT schools that you can go to,
mhm.
especially in the area. I think like Northwestern and like Midwestern, they're like literally twice the amount of money I paid
Oh wow,
for PT school, which I think is insane.
hmm,
Um, because I mean, you're not really getting that much different of an education.
hmm,
So, um, yeah, I don't really know where the disconnect is. I think it's something that like a lot of PTs are constantly like lobbying for, like funding and stuff, but it's kind of hard for like I feel like the average PT to go out there and be like, I'm gonna go to like Congress and like lobby for this because it's
right.
like you're working 40 hours a week, you're burnt out, like it's I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a very like not only time intensive but stressful in the
Yeah.
physical sense too, right? Because
Yeah.
your hours, I mean, you're working, I think, 4 days, 10 hours, right, during
Mhm.
the week.
Mhm.
Do you like that work week schedule? Do you prefer? I mean,
I
obviously
do.
we're here on a Thursday,
Yes,
so we're able to do
yes.
this. Yeah.
I do prefer that schedule for sure. That's what I was hired in as. I was like Tuesday through Friday is like my normal schedule, and then if I work a weekend day, then I have like a random day off in the middle of the week.
Hmm.
Um, I really like it. I like having like the 3 days off and then like 4 days on, like because the 3 days off, it almost feels like I forget about work. a little bit, and
That's
then I
good,
like come
right?
back, and then I'm like kind of back into it. But yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
it feels like a nice break. I don't know how people only have like 2 day weekends. I'm like, it's just not a good setup.
That's
I
the,
feel like
Sunday scaries that people say,
literally,
like, get set in, yeah.
yeah. Now I have Monday scaries, but it's not as bad because now I love Sundays.
Right. Now you're able to, like, actually decompress, yeah,
Yeah,
and feel that disconnect.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, you somehow find the time to go on runs and
yeah.
push yourself from a fitness standpoint. So you said you signed up for a half marathon. When is
I
that?
did. It's September 29th of this year.
How do you feel about it?
A little nervous. I started training like this week. Just very preliminary like runs and stuff, but I like mapped out like all of my training schedule to do like today too. Um,
Yeah, I
I'm
like
a
how you
little
chose
nervous.
90-degree weather to
Yeah.
be,
Yeah.
today when you said you
Yeah,
were
it's
running, I
kind of
was
a
like
rough day to run, but it was a short run today. But yeah, so I originally signed up for a half marathon when I was in PT school. I was like training for it and everything. I got up to like running like 8 miles, which is like the furthest I've ever run. But
nice.
um, I in PT school was kind of nice because like everyone was very fit and very active, and it was kind of just pushes you to kind of like
Mhm.
out of your comfort zone and do things that you normally wouldn't do. So a couple people in my program were like, "Let's do a half marathon." I was like, "Let's do it. That's
Okay, yeah.
crazy. I don't care."
Just a
Yeah.
social norm in
Yeah.
that group, yeah.
Yeah, which was really nice. But it was scheduled for like I think April or May of 2020, and obviously that got canceled.
Mhm.
So then like I kind of just like stopped running for a while there. Um so then yeah, I just kind of wanted to get back to it. This past year I ran like an 8K and then a 10K, and I was like if I can do those then like I think I can build up to like a half marathon. I
Mhm.
just want to be able to say I did it. Plus it just keeps me like in shape too. Um but yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
natural progression. And are
Yeah.
you doing the runs, I imagine, like along the lakefront? That's
Yes.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
get to maximize on, yeah, the lakefront. Obviously,
Yeah.
a great amenity that, I mean, where Jackie and I live, like we're not able to access it as much,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is really nice to be able to
Yeah.
get down there when we can.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you, I guess I imagine right now is also the time when you're doing the
Yes.
volleyball season, and yeah,
Yeah.
your team with Ryden, Malcolm, etc.
Yeah.
How's that going this year? Because I know last year you guys ended up beating us. So
Yes. Last year we were doing better. This year we've played 3 games so far. We're like 1 for 3
okay,
wins.
okay.
So
So a little
not
bit of a shakier start,
yeah, a
yeah.
little shaky start, but we're kind of getting into it. We have a couple new people on our team
Okay,
this time around. Plus like the first game, a bunch of people were like out and like missing, and we had like the sun in our eyes the whole time. So it was kind of a rough game.
that's a classic.
Yeah,
That's
just it was there were a couple warm up games, you
yeah, yeah,
know.
yeah.
It's just really fun though. I like
Hmm.
playing volleyball for fun. I played it in like middle school, high school, and it was always like I feel like really intense and like would make me like anxious, even though I really
Hmm.
loved playing. So it's nice to just be able to play for fun, just
How do you
because.
feel in terms of? I mean, maybe this is something that was unique for me, but I remember going from soccer, which is a team sport, to
Yeah.
running, which is obviously an individual sport, at least unless you're running like a relay. I felt, at least in my races, like a lot more nervous. Maybe
Mm,
because I felt, of course, in a team sport, it's not so focused on you, right? Like it is in a race. Do you
mm,
feel any difference between, I don't know, let's say like volleyball being the team sport versus
yeah.
running when you're doing like a 10K or,
I kind of feel the opposite.
oh,
I feel
really?
like in a team sport, I'm like people are depending on me. I need
Mm,
to do good. So I feel like it kind of pushes me into like that anxious zone where I'm like I need to do good because everyone's watching me first of all, and then also like my team is depending on me.
expectations, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Whereas like for me for running, I feel like I try to set like my expectations where it's like you just have to finish this race. Like even if you walk
Hmm.
some of it, it's
Hmm.
okay. You just have to finish it.
Right.
Because that's more than a lot of people
Yeah,
do.
yeah, totally. And it's,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. It's just you setting those expectations
Yeah.
versus maybe if others are dependent on you, like if you give a bad pass or like
Yes. Yeah.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
then you might feel a little bit more of that stress
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
into the game than you would otherwise.
Yeah.
Um, and then in terms of, yeah, in terms of your racing, then do you set like times that you want to try and achieve? Like, is there a goal that you'd like to achieve for the race in September?
No.
You're
I
like,
literally just want to finish
as
it.
long as I finish
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I was with like the 8K and the 10K too. Me and Nikki
Okay.
have been running together, so we're like all we have to do is finish it. Like it's
Okay.
fine. It like doesn't matter.
That's nice.
I feel like as I start getting more into the training, I might start setting like time goals, but like
Mhm.
since I've literally never run a half marathon before, I'm like I just want to finish it.
Okay.
Like that's it.
So that's what is that, like 13?
13.1.
Yeah, 13.1. And
Yeah.
then prior to this, your max is 8 miles.
Yeah.
So it's like close to double.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
How do you so the lead up till then is, I mean, it's like a few months, but this is like the standard regimen.
Yeah, so it's like about 15 weeks from now, I think.
Okay.
15 or 16 weeks. Um so I feel like most training programs are like 12 weeks. So I'm doing a little bit longer just because I have like a couple trips planned and
Hmm.
I have to like schedule runs around that. Plus I just want to give myself extra time to build up the
Hmm.
endurance.
Yeah, yeah, and you feel more comfortable with it, and also
Yeah.
lower risk of injury, which
Yes.
I would imagine is something that you're thinking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. Plus, I'm trying to like build in like cross training days and stuff too, like weightlifting and potentially swimming and stuff.
Oh,
Just
did you do some swimming too?
yeah, I've been swimming at Ryden's gym with him.
What's that been like? Like, in terms of, are you doing laps?
Yes, so we've
Okay.
been doing laps. The reason why I've like been more interested in it is because I did an indoor triathlon like with my
Oh, nice.
coworkers in March of this year, and like it was, like, something that none of us trained for, and, like,
You're just doggy
it just
paddling.
wasn't yeah, it literally wasn't very serious, but then I was like, "Wow, like, some of these people are really good at swimming," and, like,
Hmm.
I didn't realize like, I used to swim all the time when I was a kid, I really loved it, but I just haven't swam laps in forever because I really haven't had access to a pool, and I was, like, trying to swim, and I was like, "I feel like I'm drowning," like, I just have no endurance, like, my arms are so tired, like
You had a trauma moment where you were thinking
yeah,
about
yeah, in the river.
swimming.
I was like,
Yeah,
if I'm ever in another river, I need to know how to swim.
exactly. Yeah.
um, but yeah, so it just felt good to kind of swim too.
Mhm.
So then like Ryden has like guest passes for his gym, so we've been going and like swimming laps like once every other week.
Okay, nice. So you've
Yeah,
been getting a little bit of a routine.
yeah.
Is he a swimmer at all?
He swims laps and
Okay,
stuff. He's pretty
but
good.
he's not like it's not like he did it in high school or anything
I
like
think
that.
he might have been on this.
He's like, oh yeah, maybe he was like state champion or
I yeah,
something.
no, he wasn't
Yeah.
for lacrosse. He was, but
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
yeah, yeah, but not for swimming. I think he was on the swim team. I don't know if it was high
Okay,
school or like middle school or
elementary school or preschool.
I
Just
gotta
keep
fact
it.
check that one.
So I guess as we're speaking about Ryden, he is what we do know that he is an author.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are watching, I have in my hand Ryden's On Mazes and Meanings, a short story collection. Check it out.
On Amazon.
It's available on Amazon. Actually, funny story. When we were at the Welcome Back Lounge,
Uh-huh.
I guess like some of the girls there were like, I think like Sydney, maybe Grace were thinking about like
Yeah.
buying the book.
They did.
Yeah, they did
Yeah.
because I forget if I can't remember if I think Grace maybe asked like what the title of the book was so
Uh-huh.
she could buy it, and then when I replied, Sydney said, "Oh, that's what that is. I have a notification from Amazon that this book was just delivered at my front step, and I didn't know where it was from." So yeah,
Oh my God.
they are actually supporters now of the
Nice.
book. And then I think, well, of course, you've read it. I've read it.
Mhm.
Malcolm has read it as well.
Oh, I didn't know Malcolm finished it.
Yeah, yeah, it was funny. We've done a little bit of like we've gone back and forth on some of the short stories.
Oh, really?
But yeah, I mean it's obviously a great book. Like
Yeah.
very talented. I guess what was your experience reading it?
Yeah, so I think Ryden gave me a copy like a few weeks after we started dating.
Free copy.
Yeah.
That's a good pickup.
Yeah. We had like kind of talked about it on our first date, and I was shocked to find out that he was an author. I was like, "What do you mean you've published 2 books?"
It's just
'Cause
like a
he,
low key, yeah,
yeah,
flex.
yeah, yeah. So I feel like the dedication just going into that and
Hmm.
like the hard work is just impressive. But I really just wanted to like see. We talked about it like on our first date. I was like, "Oh, is it like the inner workings of your mind?" And he was like, "Yeah." I
It
was
kind
like,
of is,
"Okay,
yeah.
yeah." I was like, "Yeah, I want to read it."
Uh-huh.
Um,
Was it signed?
it was signed. Yeah,
Nice,
yeah,
nice. You guys should
yeah.
date. That's good.
Yeah, yeah. Um, But yeah, I really liked it. I mean, I think he's a great writer, and there's some of the stories in there that I've like gone back to reread and
Oh,
stuff
nice.
too that I really like. So
Yeah, this one actually has some notes in it. Yeah, this, I guess, just as a brief context for what this is. Yeah, it's a collection of short stories, and they kind of vary, right? Like some are
yeah,
more conversational, others are a little bit more imaginative.
yeah,
But overall, it's very creative.
yeah,
Overall, and yeah, I agree in that it's kind of like a way to peer into like what he's thinking about.
yeah,
It's a really unique thing. Like obviously, not everyone is a published author.
right.
But yeah, as I was reading through it, I could take note or realize like, okay, these are the things that he's thinking about. These are the things that
Hmm.
like kind of stand out and maybe what he's interested about. And of course, these have been ways that I imagine like you two were able to kind of connect and talk about more.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely.
when did you guys? So the first date was when, like, approximately?
Like July of last year, like
Oh
beginning
wow,
of
so you guys are
July.
coming up, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess what has the last year been like now that, of course, you went from first date, no, finding out he's an author, and now fast forward to where we are today. Like, what's that experience been like in terms of, yeah, just the two of you dating?
It's been really good.
Hmm.
I've never had a boyfriend before this.
This was the perfect culmination. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So it was nice. I mean, like we met on Hinge, shout out Hinge. And I never had really good luck on Hinge. It's like kind of rough out
I
there,
think many
but
would agree.
yeah, yeah. But I know Ryden, he like initially messaged me about like, oh, like what are you reading? And I was like, oh, that's a great opener. But yeah, and then I met him and I was like instantly just like comfortable around him. I was
Mm.
so nervous for our first date. Um, like I was literally like dry heaving in the Uber on the way there.
Really?
I get really anxious,
Hmm.
um but yeah, it's just been a really good almost year
Yeah, and I think
getting to know him and yeah.
that
Yeah.
seems like it's a pretty big compliment then, if, from a comfort standpoint, right? Like you said, you were feeling anxious, and then he's able to.
Yeah.
And I think, of course, we can all. I mean, we've all met Ryden. It's been
Yeah.
a year, and yeah, definitely a great guy. He's able to kind of plug in and
Yeah.
very good conversationally.
Yeah.
Of course, also has like a great friend group that I've noticed like has also
Yes.
been plugged in. So, what's it been like? I guess you finding out more about like his friends and then him being incorporated more into the friend group. Like, has it been easy or has it been like some trickiness, like scheduling or anything like that?
It honestly felt kind of easy, which I don't know if I'm like jinxing it or anything, but it has felt pretty easy. I mean, like I all of his friends are so nice. He has such
Hmm.
a good friend group. And I would hope he feels the same way about our friend
Hmm.
group
I
too.
would hope so as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which I'm sure he does. But yeah, it's just been like really nice. I know all my friends like love him and I hope his friends like me.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah. And I don't think he has been, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he's been on any of the Squamily trips.
No, he hasn't. Because we went to Yosemite in like October of like
Oh, yeah.
2023.
Hmm.
Um,
That was pretty
and that
soon
was
on.
that was pretty soon into
Yeah.
like us dating. So yeah,
And then is there a next trip planned out right now?
we
We
don't have one
think we might need
planned.
to get Ryan on the
I
case.
know, I know, I know.
So yeah, we've done, at least I've been a part of,
Hmm.
Zion, Yosemite. I think you guys also went to Arizona
Yes,
for one
yeah,
of
to
the
visit
trips.
Devon. Yeah.
What are the Squamily trips for those that don't know?
Yes. So Squamily trips, they're just uh, our big group. We put in the group chat like dates for going on like hiking trips basically. So far
Mm-hmm.
that's all they've been because
Mm-hmm.
Ryan McKeever has been the one planning them.
And he has a slight bias.
Yes, yes. But we've gone to yeah, a couple national parks with a big group, got a big Airbnb, did some hiking, hung out. It's been really good.
Hmm.
It's been really fun.
Yeah, and
Um,
we've, I think, also I should say, Jackie has capitalized them with the Survivor tapes.
yes,
Like, do you want to, yeah,
yes.
share what those are like?
Yes, so the first time in Zion, we were waiting for everyone to finish Angel's Landing. Um,
Hmm.
and we were like, we got to do something because we were just like sitting on a rock.
Yeah, I think there was like, it
Um,
was like half the group, right? Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. So we started making like Survivor tapes. We're like, we haven't seen the rest of our group in 3 days. Like,
Yeah, just getting into the
wondering if
element.
they're, yeah, we heard a scream a little bit ago. I don't know if it was them.
Yeah, kudos to Zach,
Yeah.
who does a really good job of getting into the zone.
Yes,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and then, yeah, Jackie will compile it, and then I think at least for the last 2 trips, she'll play it at the last day just to see like
Yes.
the
Yeah.
progression.
Yeah, it's really funny. They get kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see, like, one, how much content can be pumped out
Yeah.
in such a short period of
Yeah.
time. But yeah, as we're going through, obviously, the replay of the events, um, yeah, it's just crazy how much time has felt like to have progressed because
Yeah.
obviously the hiking days are really long, tiring,
Yeah.
and a lot happens each day. So when we're there for like 3 days, once the final video is ready on the third day, you're looking back at the first and you're like,
You're
that
like,
feels like it's so long
I
ago.
know.
Like
I
so much
know.
has happened.
Yeah.
We actually, yeah, we should find. Are those like live anywhere?
They were on TikTok, some of them.
We gotta get those off before it's banned.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta save them somewhere. I
Yeah.
think Jackie also did like a big compilation on YouTube
Okay.
I know she did it for Zion. I don't
Mm.
know if there's one for Yosemite or not.
Yeah, I don't think there is yet.
But yeah, there's one for
Yet, we'll
Zion,
say,
which
yeah.
is really nice.
Yeah.
It's nice that Jackie's done that.
Yeah, she does have her vlog. Excuse me, she does have her vlog YouTube channel. So for anyone who wants to check it out, yeah, she does upload them to YouTube, which has been nice. But yeah,
Yeah.
Ryden hasn't been on, and
Yeah.
we'd love to have him. I'm
Yeah.
sure he strikes me as someone that would enjoy hikes.
Yeah.
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 Does he do like any trip? I mean, I've actually heard him go on trips with his own friends. Like
Yeah.
they do like their own. I think most recently was actually a bachelor party.
Yeah, he's
that-
gone on a bunch of bachelor
Yeah.
parties this year, yeah.
It's wedding season.
Yeah,
and
it's
yeah.
the wedding season of our lives for like the next like 3 years or so, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably beyond that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been good to obviously have him like be more incorporated, and then yeah, be on those trips with hopefully in the future like we can have
Yeah.
maybe also a little bit of variety. I know Sargon has been hoping to get a little bit of a different twist.
Yeah, maybe an all-inclusive.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
But we need
But I don't
Ryan.
know if everyone would be on board with it. Yeah. Ryan was the one who planned like literally everything, which is the only reason why these trips happened.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Yeah.
What would be if you could have your own selection of destination, where would it go? Or where would we go?
This isn't on the all-inclusive side, but I really want to go to Banff in Canada.
Ooh, that's a great spot.
Yeah.
Why Banff?
I just think it looks really beautiful. Just from the pictures and the videos and stuff that I've seen, the water looks so blue and yeah.
Is there a time of year when it's best to go? Do you know?
I don't know. I feel like going in like summer, fall would be good. Probably not too late into the fall though, because it's Canada and it probably gets really cold. But
yeah, I actually heard of some friends that actually went recently. I should say maybe like 2 years ago, and yeah, the pictures that they showed it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
It looks like it's photoshopped. It's so
Yeah.
nice. So I guess on the topic of trips, I know you like to go to Europe. That's one of your preferred destinations. I guess first question, where is your favorite place to go in Europe and why?
So I've only been to Europe once. Well, we hit a lot of spots.
I thought aren't you planning on making another trip to Europe as well?
Eventually.
Oh,
Not
okay,
this year
okay.
though. Yeah, yeah. But so went on a Europe trip last year. I think like this time last year I was in Europe.
Okay.
But like we went to London, we went to Ireland, like Dublin and Galway, and then we went to Paris. I personally loved Paris the most. I just think it's like a really beautiful city and like the whole vibe there I just feel like is really cool. I like one night we were just like walking around, didn't really have plans, and like everyone was just like lined up along the river like with alcohol, just like sitting there drinking.
Yeah.
It was like kind of crazy.
Posh.
Just yeah, that's like one of the things I really like about Europe is like everyone is just like outside and like with other people like constantly. I feel like you don't see that as much here. I mean, sometimes like in the parks and stuff, but it's not as to like the extent as it is in Europe. Like even on like a Tuesday night, people are like out in the park just like sitting and like having a picnic, like drinking a bottle of wine with their friends.
Just enjoying life.
Yes. I feel like leisure is way more like valued there than it is here. That's yeah.
Yeah, culturally
American
it is
culture.
different.
Yeah.
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 And then that trip was with Nikki, right?
Yeah,
and
Nikki, and then one of our friends, Melissa, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess if you could go back, like where would you go and why?
I really want to go to Portugal.
Lisbon, Porto, both.
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Yeah. ¿Por qué no los dos?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. it just like looks beautiful there, and the architecture I feel like looks really cool. I love all like the tiles, like that
Hmm.
vibe. Plus like the beaches there look really nice. Yeah. So that's definitely like number one. But I mean, I want to go like so many other places. I've never been to Italy, never
Hmm.
been to Spain. I really want to go to Barcelona and see La Sagrada Familia.
Mm. Yeah, because your
Um,
sister was just there, right?
yeah, yeah. Um, would love to go to Italy, would love to go to Greece. Do you have a favorite place in Europe?
Ooh, you put me on the spot now. Favorite place in Europe. If I had to pick a country of the places I visited, I would say Spain.
Okay,
Just because I've spent the most amount of time there.
gotcha.
And so I've seen more of the cities there. But if I had to pick one particular city, I think the one that impressed me the most in terms of
Hmm.
where I was maybe not expecting it to be as nice as it was would probably be like Prague or
Okay,
Budapest. Yeah, probably Prague.
okay.
It's just such a beautiful city. People will say that it's like Eastern Europe, but it's
Yeah.
like Central Europe.
Okay,
But
okay.
in terms of like tourism, it's considered a little bit more east. But if you say you're in Eastern Europe, there they'll like get mad because it's like
Oh,
Central Europe.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Good
Um,
to know.
but it's such a beautiful city, and yeah, there's a beautiful bridge there, and it's white, and it's obviously very historic, and you
Mm,
do get that community feeling, which obviously you
okay.
don't quite get, especially in the suburbs here in the U.S.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and to some extent, like even in the city, it's not the same, right? Like
yeah.
there's a level of density and culture and leisure and just moving slower in Europe that I think we kind
Yes,
of miss here.
yes, I agree.
And it would be nice to kind of have that, but of course it's more than just like any individual. Like it
Yeah,
requires like just like a mind shift, I would say,
yeah,
to like actually like appreciate and say, okay, we're gonna slow down and like it's gonna be an intentional like.
yeah. I feel like it's just like the work culture here.
Mhm.
It's like everyone's like, I have to work 40 plus hours a week, which is just like, I feel like unheard of, like in Europe. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
sure people work that much, but it's not like the norm where like if you're not working, like you're lazy, basically.
Mhm.
That's how you're like labeled. But it's like how are we like put on this earth just to like labor for how
Yeah.
many years? Like
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
insane. I don't nobody was built to work 40 hours a week. Humans were literally not built to work 40
Yeah.
hours a week. Like we can't be productive that long. So it's
Yeah.
just pointless. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It is definitely
It's
a different culture. Some would say it's like the Protestant work culture where
yeah.
it's very focused on just like working hard and doing what
Yeah.
you need to do, and of course that did come with its own pros where like the U.S. is a new country
Yeah.
so to speak, where it was able to like be built up pretty quickly, but then
Right.
it's like okay, like at some point like enough is enough, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
time to scale back.
It's done.
um
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and I know the U.S. used to have I think they were called blue laws
Oh,
where
really?
certain stores, or I don't remember if it was certain stores or just particular times of day, everything needed to be closed. Um,
Oh,
so it incentivized people to actually like go
work
home
less.
and spend time with their families, which I think is
Yeah,
really important. But of course, those got lobbied and like for profit purposes, like oh, like some
yeah,
people need to buy stuff on Sundays, or some people need
yeah.
or some people need to buy stuff. I don't know, at the crack of dawn on Saturday, like so
Yeah, it
therefore we need
sounds
to be
pretty
open.
American.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
therefore we need to get rid of those. But yeah, those
Yeah.
blue laws haven't been gone like too long, but obviously you can tell a difference culturally.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Um, but I guess switching gears a little bit, one thing that you've picked up recently has been
Hmm.
pottery.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
pottery, and what's it been like?
So I took a pottery class in high school,
Oh, really?
and yeah, it was just like a coil, like where you like roll up the little coils of clay and then like you build it to like make a pot. So it wasn't like a wheel or anything. But I'd always wanted to try the wheel classes, and I was just like looking up, I don't know, it was kind of like when you start working and you kind of just like get in like the routine of working and you're like, what is the purpose of this? Like I need like a hobby or something. So
Um,
I was like, okay, let me like think about like what I would want to do. So I was like, maybe something like artsy because I already like kind of do stuff fitness wise. So
mhm.
um I was like pottery would be awesome. So I was just like looking up like pottery studios, and there was one that had classes on Mondays, and I'm like, well, I'm off work every Monday, so I might as well.
Yeah, works out.
Yeah. So I did that for like 16 weeks. I learned a lot.
You were
Made
able to make
some,
Jackie a mug.
yeah, I
Yeah.
made Jackie a mug. I made some like little like flower pots,
Oh,
some
nice.
bowls, stuff like that. But it is a very expensive hobby,
In what
especially
way?
it just costs a lot of money,
The clay or the like the
all of
setup?
it. Because
Really?
like, I mean, you could do like an in-home studio, but I mean the equipment is like really expensive for like the wheel. Plus, you wouldn't have like the kiln to actually like bake the clay, and like
Um,
that's the most expensive thing. Um, and like the glazes and all that. So it's a lot of different materials. Um, and like it was like a 3 hour class once a week, and I feel like I really wasn't getting my money's worth because he like at the studio you could go in like multiple times a week and use as much clay as you wanted to,
mm,
like in the class that I was in. But
seems like a
like
good deal.
it the yeah, the studio's all the way in Lincoln Park though, and I'm in South Loop, so it was just like a commute, and like I really could only make it there once a week, so it just
Mm.
felt like it was just not like worth the amount of money that I was paying. Especially like I just kept making like bowls, and I was like, what do I do with these? Like I only need so many bowls.
Yeah,
Which I could like give away to people and everything.
sure.
But yeah. I think it's something that I'll pick up again eventually. I think just like right now, not having like a pottery studio like as close to like home as I could, then I just kind of took a break from it. But I really liked it. It's like pretty meditative. It's like you throw the clay down and it's like you have to shape it, and it's a lot of hard work.
You can't be on your phone
You
while you're
can't be on your phone at
yeah,
all for 3 hours straight, which
yeah,
is really nice.
yeah, yeah. The
Yeah,
would you say that maybe would be a better investment for someone who's living in Lincoln Park if
I would
they're
say so.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah, if you like are within I feel like 10-15 minutes of the studio, I feel like it's worth it.
So I imagine that there's a pretty big jump from, let's say, like a cup, or I guess maybe a cup would be harder, but like a bowl or maybe even a mug. What would be like the next step of what you can make with that?
Like vases,
Okay.
like big pieces. It's just, I mean, like my forearms would be so sore
Oh,
after the
really?
classes. The maximum amount of clay I would throw with was like 3 pounds. And it's like you have to center it on the wheel. And like you're literally using like these tiny muscles in your forearms that like you don't normally use.
Mm.
So maybe I just have like a weak upper body, but like it was like really hard to do like 3 pounds of clay. And I mean, like people throw more than that, but it's hard. And
Interesting.
like the clay kind of like you have to like control the clay, otherwise it will push you around.
This is gonna be like the new like TikTok trend for guys. Like they're gonna
Yeah.
be like new clay max, like from
Yeah.
3 pounds, five
Yeah,
pounds. I'm
literally.
gonna get Jamantha on the case, and he's gonna be like, I could do 3 pounds easy.
Yeah, I mean he probably could.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
So you said, yeah, bowls, maybe vases,
Yeah.
and at that point, I imagine, like you said, it's just more clay that you have to
Yes. Yeah.
actually. Have you done like pots, like
Um
plants, for example?
yes. Yeah, I've done like small ones. I just haven't made anything very big.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have noticed a trend of maybe I don't know if it's just our age or if it is just like a generational trend with like Gen Z. If I don't know if
Mhm.
we qualify for that, I don't know, but
Yeah, we're like in the weird in
yeah.
between. Yeah.
But definitely going back to like more hands-on
Yeah.
type skills, whether it's pottery. I mean, Jackie and I did woodworking.
Yeah.
I've dabbled in like some leather crafting.
Mhm.
But I think a lot of people are starting to like remember how valuable these skills are
Yes.
because there is definitely a generational disconnect, I feel, between
Yeah.
the older generation that, of course, was able to do these things. I mean, whether it could be as simple as like sewing,
Yeah.
seamstressing, like those are all obviously very classic examples. But I do think that there is kind of a return of people in our generation to be like, okay, well, maybe I should explore these things.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really cool. I think it's also just like cool to like have something that like you've made. Like
Something to show for.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Would you do anything else like adjacent to that? You know, you've done pottery, something else?
I've thought about like taking painting classes, but I haven't found any that really work with my schedule
You need to
yet.
go back to
But
France.
yeah,
You
yeah,
need
I
to
actually need to
like
take a summer off and go to
right.
France and learn how to paint.
Yeah, this is like not Pride and Prejudice. What's the other
Little
Little Women?
Women.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where she
yeah,
like goes
yeah.
off to
Pulling Amy.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, well, I need
Yeah.
to become an artist, so therefore
Yeah.
I need to go to France.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Must be nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
south of France.
Yeah.
Another thing that I know that you like to go to, like the Mount Joy concerts and other
Yeah.
concerts. Um, I guess step one, why Mount Joy? Out of all of the artists that are out there,
Yeah. I mean, I really like their band. I've seen them, God, I don't even know, maybe like 5 or 6 times now.
that was more than I thought. I
I
thought it was
feel
like
like
four.
it might be four. I don't know. I could be over. I
It
don't
could be
know.
six though.
It could be four. It could be six.
Yeah.
Anywhere in between there. Um, but yeah, Nikki and I call ourselves like Mount Joy groupies because we saw them I think 3 times last year.
Just last year.
Yeah, yeah. Which is crazy because we saw them at Lollapalooza when they came, and then we saw them at in Red Rocks in Colorado. We took a trip,
Oh,
and then we
nice.
saw them like around New Year's. They had like a 4-day concert in Chicago.
Also in Chicago. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I just really like their music. It's like really chill. I
Hmm.
kind of resonate with like the lyrics for the most part. Yeah, I just think they're like cool people too.
What was the Red Rock experience like?
It
Like,
was,
do you recommend people like if they know someone that they really want to see? Like, is it worth a trip?
I would say do it once, yeah.
Okay.
Or more than once if you want, but I would say at least do it
Hmm.
once. I think it's really cool. I mean, Colorado's beautiful. It's outside of Denver, so we paid like $50 to take like a bus like from like downtown Denver out to Red Rocks.
Hmm.
It's just like a beautiful area. We did get pretty like altitude sick though.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was like bad because we like landed in Colorado at like, I don't know, like 9, 10 a.m. And then we were just like doing stuff all day. We ended up meeting the band at like a brewery. They were doing like a merch pop up. So
Nice.
we were like, oh, let's go get like a poster or a t-shirt or something. And we show up there and like the band is there doing like a meet and greet, which was really cool.
Nice.
Um, but then we were like hanging out at the brewery, like drinking, which like isn't great for when you're at altitude.
Well, it depends on who you ask.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean,
Do
like,
some people say like you should be drinking?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean you get drunk pretty quick.
exactly.
Yeah. So we did that, and then like we went like to Red Rocks after that, and we're like drinking some more, and we were just like, oh my god, like I feel terrible. We probably also didn't drink enough water or
Right.
anything, but yeah, it was a
Just
good
yeah,
experience,
just for
even though
being
we
on the
weren't
go.
feeling fantastic. Yeah.
So then, out of all of them, would you say? I mean, I imagine you're going to say that it is worth seeing them like again and again because it's not
Yeah.
just like a one-time thing. But
Yeah.
are there any other artists that you've seen more than once?
I've seen Hosier a couple
Oh,
times.
really?
Yeah.
Where at?
Once was with Jackie. It was like in high school. We went and saw Hosier at like the Pritzker Pavilion in Millennium Park,
Mm,
which was really
it's a
cool.
great venue.
I don't know if they really do like many like big concerts like that anymore. That was like in 2015, and I saw like 2 concerts there that summer. It was like really cool.
Yeah, I think they do like the jazz
Yeah,
or what is it, the jazz festival? I think
yeah.
they last year they used it. But
But
yeah,
I don't know if they have any like big names or
right.
anything that go there. So that was really cool. And then I saw him at Northerly Island this past fall.
Oh, that was his past fall.
Yeah,
Was that for his new album?
yeah.
Oh, nice. You
Which
got
is
to see.
he's just like the definition of like an artist. Like the whole like production and like his voice and like he's just so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you actually recommended that I listen to the album
Yeah.
because of I wish I had it here, but I actually have it in my room. It was based on the well, I should say specifically
Hmm.
Dante's Inferno,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I've read. Excellent. Well, I would say arguably the greatest work of art. But yeah, the album was great.
Yeah.
Francesca is, I
It's such a
think,
good song.
I think that's the most popular song in the album.
It's one of the
It's
most
if not,
popular.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I listened to one of the interviews with him, and he's obviously like very intelligent, very well
Yeah.
spoken, and yeah, he's pushing music, I think, in a way that's pretty creative, because he's
Yeah.
referencing these. He's very well read, so he's kind of referencing these
Yeah.
older texts and then incorporating that into music, which is pretty interesting.
Did you ever figure out like which song goes with which
I did for some of them,
level?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. I know
So
he like came out and like said, or I don't know if other people were just like theorizing like which songs went where, if he actually put out like which songs were.
yes, some of them are pretty easy to map. So I guess just for context, Hosier's latest album,
Hmm.
again, is based on Dante's Inferno. Dante being one of the, I think, arguably the greatest poet of all time, and Italian, I think, 13th century. Um, and writes in Italian to kind of is the first book written in Italian actually
Oh, I didn't know
after
that.
yeah, it's the colloquial language at the time in quotes, which is
Oh,
actually Italian, because it's stemming out of Latin, and he kind of
okay.
writes it to protest against the people that were writing in Latin at the time.
Ah, huh.
But anyway, yeah, so he writes this book, and it's about a journey of a man going through Inferno or Hell,
Mhm.
and the different stages. And I think some might be surprised to see like what is worse than others, but Francesca, I'll use that as an example, as I think
Yeah.
Canto 7, where the uh, narrative in that is that ultimately they fell in love when they weren't supposed to, because
Yeah.
ultimately, I think she ended up getting together with her husband's brother or something like that when he
Yeah.
was out at war,
Yeah.
and then because of that, Dante, as the poet, writes them in Inferno, as being buffeted by the wind. So they
Mhm.
get really close, but they never actually touch each other. Like they're
Mm.
always at like arm's grasp, but
Okay.
they're never able to like fully embrace. And we actually got to see that. I went with
Yeah,
Jackie
I
and
was gonna
Mitch.
say you saw the play,
Yeah, and
right?
we saw the play, and so we were able to see that experience where essentially the moral of the story is that well, one, love is in the will. Like you choose to love, love doesn't happen to
Mhm.
you, and so they chose wrongly, and ultimately the punishment for that is because they chose the wrong thing to love. That then you know they end up going to Inferno for the punishment.
Gosh.
But then yeah, but Hosier ultimately makes a song to say
Mhm.
Francesca is like that person that he loves. So it's
Yeah, and he would have done it again.
see you in Inferno.
His lyrics are just so good.
Yeah.
He's just so good. Yeah.
So I guess yeah, we're coming up on time.
Okay.
We're right at the hour mark, but
Wow.
I'll top it off with asking you about what your experience was when the Chicago Cubs won the World Series.
Woohoo. It was great.
Yeah, walk us through what that experience was like.
So I was actually in South Carolina at the time, which kind of sucked.
You were like, if I could
Yeah,
be in
yeah, I
Chicago
was like
right
that.
now.
Yeah, if I could transport back there, um, because I think it would have been really cool to be like here, like with my dad and like,
Hmm.
well, my whole family, but like mainly my dad, because my dad had season tickets like
Shout
when I
out
was
Mr.
growing up.
Wood.
Shout
Yes,
out Ken.
yes.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I think it would have been really cool to be here with him when they won.
Mm.
But it was still, I mean, like awesome. I didn't think it was gonna happen. It was like me and a couple of my friends. We were out at a bar watching the game, and there was like a rain delay in the middle of like the seventh game. So we were like, okay, like let's Uber home really quick because it was getting pretty late.
Mm-mm.
We like Ubered back to our apartment, and then I see like a black cat like run in front of us, like as we're walking up to like the
You're like,
apartment. I
oh
was
no.
like, oh my god, we're screwed. um, it turned out fine though, because like
Yeah.
we got in just in time to like watch the rest of the game, and they ended up winning, which was like insane. So I honestly didn't know if it was gonna happen in my lifetime, but it was there. Yeah, it was
The
amazing.
curse. Yeah.
Yeah,
The Billy, yeah,
the
the Billy
curse
Goat
was
Curse. Yeah.
broken. Yeah,
Well, how many years was it? 106 or
108, I think.
108? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that was a
yeah,
I recall obviously I was in Illinois at the time, but I was in
yeah.
Bloomington. I was at ISU, and yeah, when the Cubs won, I mean ISU is pretty 50-50 actually between Cardinals fans and Cubs fans
Oh, yeah,
because
because
of
it's south.
yeah, because
Yeah.
it's south, and so
Okay.
there are a good number of Cardinals fans, and the Cubs fans actually went out when they won and just went crazy on the quad,
It
like
was
destroyed the
so-
quad. Yeah, it
I
was
feel like
so
that's
bad.
how it was in the city here too.
Yeah.
It was like insane.
Yeah, the videos of
Yeah.
Wrigleyville when
People
people
were
were
like climbing like light poles and
yeah.
like people were just feral. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it was so crazy, and yeah, I do recall I didn't go out because I wasn't really following, but
Yeah.
I do remember that like even months after the quad still hadn't recovered.
Oh
there was
my
still like patches of mud, like
oh
grass run.
God.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
terrible.
it like took a really long time for the quad to like recover from yeah, the celebrations, but everyone was
Yeah.
obviously so excited and
Yeah.
really happy. But
Yeah.
all right, well, unless there's anything you had, anything
No, that's
any
pretty much
shout outs
it.
or anything you want to call out before we wrap up?
Shout out to my mom, Gabby.
Yeah, shout
She'll
outs.
probably listen to this, so
If not, you're gonna be like pestering her. You're like, did you listen?
yeah,
This is actually
yeah.
the test.
Hopefully she's not mad about the river story. I don't know if I told her that before.
You should come up with like a little code word, and then that'll be your test to see if she made it this far.
uh, string bean.
String bean. That's the code word.
String bean.
So then when you ask her, we'll see if she made it this far.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining on the what was it? The sixth
Six.
episode of Across the Decades. Time flies when you're having fun, and hope you join us for the next episode. Thank you so much.
Yay.
Ciao.